Good morning, everybody. Aloha from Maui and happy Maui Day After Christmas. This is, of course, Love Coach Scott, and it's the Sacred Sunday Show. And I want to welcome any of you who are watching live in our Zoom room. Thank you so much. It's always great to have people with us. I also want to acknowledge that a lot of the people that watch the show watch the replay. So for those of you watching the replay, welcome. And I still go back and take a look at the comments that come in. And I think we're probably going to have a lot of interesting comments because tonight's guest is Celestine Starr. She's very connected to the Galactic family, and we're going to learn a lot about kind of the latest of what's going on. So, and she's also one of my longtime friends. So I'm really glad that we have Celestine with us. And I'm definitely glad that all of you are with us. And for those of you coming in, I see a lot of our regulars, Bonnie and Dia, Jeff, Susan, welcome. And as always, I like to start us off with a meditation. It's a powerful time. So let's start just by closing our eyes, unless you're listening and operating a motor vehicle. By the way, the magnificent Raphael is here. I'm in his studio. You might not be able to see because of the sun, but there he is. And we're going to have music from Raphael today, starting with, he's going to underscore my meditation a little bit. So that's a real nice bonus that we get Raphael, who's an internationally known musical artist. He did the Music to Disappearance series and over a dozen recordings with Katura. So let's just start by closing our eyes and taking breath. Breathing at your own pace. As you hear the sound of my voice and Raphael's music in the background, just tuning into yourself, let us gently guide you deep, deep, deep into your own being. And I invite us all right now to take a moment to really honor our beautiful body temple. Tuning in, how is our body temple doing? How well resourced are you? Enough food, water? How was your rest last night? Did you have a especially large Christmas dinner? More sugar than usual, perhaps some alcohol? No right or wrong, just acknowledging that sometimes with big meals or sugar or alcohol, our body might be feeling it the next day. And if that's the case, we honor and acknowledge our body and ask our body what it needs, maybe more water. And how are you doing emotionally? This is a powerful time. A lot of emotions get stirred. If you were with family or friends, did that trigger things? Or if you were more alone, you're feeling extra lonely or disconnected. And again, there's no right or wrong. There's just presence to what is. Absolutely accepting any comfortable or uncomfortable emotions. Take you one more minute to just look inside yourself and see how you are doing. And then we're going to prepare to expand. And we're going to expand very, very big today. We're going to expand through the incredible music of Raphael. And we're going to expand by learning all about our galactic brothers and sisters, our cosmic family. Let's open our hearts and open our minds, be available for new information, new possibilities. And when you're ready, opening our eyes, looking around. There you are. Hello, everybody. There's beloved brother Raphael. And I get to introduce you to my soul sister, Celestine Star. Celestine and I share birthday time. She came in on December 24th. I came in on December 25, so it's a birthday week for us both. I've known Celestine for a long, long time, many decades and many lifetimes. And welcome, Celestine. I'm so glad you're with us this morning.
Thank you so much. I am totally excited to be here, and this is very precious to me, Scott, because you know we are soul brother and sister, and to have this time to share with everyone about the celestials and those of intelligences that are here to help us, have been here all this time is pretty exciting. So thank you for having me.
Let's dive right in, Celestine. Tell us a little bit about how your connection to the galactic family evolved and emerged for you. Let's start there with kind of your history with this incredible cosmic family.
Thank you. So let's just begin with my birth and to a very metaphysical family. When we say metaphysical, that means really connected to nature. They understand the elements, they understand the mineral kingdom, Gaia, the cosmos. So that was already in place when I took my first breath. Being born on the day before the Christ light is really brought to play, uh, instilled in me the celestial energies right from the time I took my first breath. So I was raised metaphysical, and so we had, you know, the Egyptian background, which of course our ancestry comes from the stars. I mean, this is natural. Isis, Nephthys, and I do remember the times. I had great memories when I came into this world. I pretty much came in intact, and so I know who I am, I know why I'm here, but still it was hidden among all of the ceremonies that our family was a part of. Arcane magic, alchemy, hermeticism, esoteric sciences. So understanding the other dimension was pretty much normal for me. I thought everyone understood that. At the age of 6, I had a near death experience and went through the light. That was really amazing. If you can imagine being 6 and going through the light, and two beautiful luminous beings, blue beings, I call them the blue beings, they're still with me, and they guided me through the heavenly realms. I had the reading of my life, which was pretty amazing, and then I entered the Godhead. So taking that with me, having that a part of me my whole life, has not only had the path very narrow, because I know that in every breath and every moment that that consciousness that is creating all things, having experienced it, is always present. So that kind of narrows the field of my life. And so this return, coming back, being told I needed to come back, and they showed me my life. I came back to my life with my guardians, and went to about 15 in this magical world with a K, and then decided to set off on my own, to discover the world. So within a year, we were living in New Mexico at the time. They did atomic bomb blasting, and I believe they did it in the sky, from what my research is showing. And they split the sky in two. You had that which is regular sky, and then you had this black, nothing was happening. And not only were those who were grown-ups upset, but everyone, the Native Americans. This is a part of my life where I spent about a year or so with the Arapaho, the Navajo, the Galactics, the what do I want to say, Apaches, and I'm noticing that my computer is going to go off. So hold on a second. I'm going to plug her in. Just 1 second here.
She's plugging in the computer. I just want to again welcome all the people in our Zoom room, and would love to hear from you. Love to hear how your Christmas was, but also love to hear any questions that you have for Celestine. And for those of you on the Facebook page, I'll periodically go take a look at the Facebook page, at least, of Love Coach Academy. That's the one that I can track most easily, because we do want to hear your thoughts and your questions. And then I turn back over to Celestine. So the sky has just been split,
The sky
and
is
people
too.
are not happy about it. That's where we are in the story.
It's fascinating thing. I found out later they were doing testing outside the atmosphere, and they would set off these bombs. Anyway, what came of that for me was not only witnessing for over weeks while the sky healed itself, but snow on one side of our lawn and just regular weather on the other side. So there was a lot of paranormal things going on, and the huge saucers appeared. So we had huge saucers, and you'd be driving down those old freeways, Studebakers and all of that. And yeah, so everybody would see the ships, saucer shaped, miles long, and then they would float and on their way. Now, as I was talking about the Native American, I have Native American blood, and I was being guided by this beautiful shaman, Ruby Sky, and taught the medicine wheel at the time. But they all began to dance the ghost dance, which was illegal at the time. And there was a lot going on in that area.
And what was the ghost dance? What was that?
The ghost dance was banned because the Native Americans, this one particular tribe, would dance. They put the um, white clay on them and dance the ancestors, and they would actually channel. So that was kind of like trance channeling. So this interdimensional play of him speaking to other beings from other dimensions, and of course, all of the Native Americans appreciate and honor the Star People. There's not a time in their history, so we have two converging, lineages within my growing up that affected me in understanding. Yes, the Star People exist. There wasn't ever a time that it didn't exist. And so when the Star People started really appearing, it got serious. And my stepfather decided to drive and follow one, but he didn't tell us. We're in the car, we're driving, and for hours. And finally it landed, and next thing I know, the whole family was in the ship, in a room for examination. Now, I had been raised to appreciate other spirits, the wind spirits, the elementals, other beings. So I wasn't like in a panic, but I was very curious for these tall grays with the eyes. We call them grays now, but they had the almond eyes and 3 or 4 fingers. I can't remember. I think it was 4 fingers. And they were just really telepathically speaking to me that, even though some of the examinations were painful, my brother was freaking out, my mother was furious. They wanted to know why we were giving our children DDT and cocaines in our drinks and opiates in our cough syrup. So lots of things came out of that for me, my association with the Galactics. But still, it was just a little one here and a little one there. It wasn't really till 1986, 87, when I had gone through a marriage with Special Forces agent who became the security over Edwards Air Force Base, married him, had a child in the 70s, and found out after we did a tour in Europe, and he began to be the flight chief over Edwards Air Force Base, that there was actually reptilians there. So that was another little vignette of understanding what's on the planet, who's been here, how they're affecting all of us. And so he actually got us out of there. It was really an amazing experience. Very espionage, very, deep six in the Dragon's Den, and we managed to be. He was released. He said he just couldn't do it because he loved humanity too much. He wanted us to all know, but it was impossible. So,
And
so
people might not know what you meant by the reptilians. If you could
pardon.
just, some people might not know what you meant when you said the reptilians were there.
There are beings whose embodiment is in the shape of a lizard-like creature, probably seven could be up to 8 feet tall, um, and they're not here. The ones that I experienced would make the hairs stand on the back of your head. They're actually here for their own advantage, maybe sharing with our government at the time, sharing with our government different technologies, and but definitely the only thing that was saving us from them really coming out onto the surface was they can't breathe the oxygen that we breathe. They have a more radiational type mixture of atmosphere, and so that kind of saved humanity. It has saved us, but there are caverns and different things, so that whole world opened up to me, which is not something that I'm interested in. It's frightening. It's you just want to hold the light, you hold the wall. And so I took that with me, and later we separated, and I ended up in the mountains where you are, Scott. And we know that this is a place where the illuminated ones live. I had no idea until I was up there for some time, and suddenly the things appeared to me. So this is where I met the Galactic um, Star Federation, and got in connection with the High Spiritual Council. Beautiful beings, council rooms, meditations. They instilled in me different philosophies. They showed me their cities, their libraries. I'm very interested in history, so I was taken to the archives. Um, uh, just spent 15 years with them. I eventually, in the 980 acres that was given to me to walk in, which is Pomo Miwok Vision Quest land, and there are archaeological sites of pyramids and megaliths. I took my cousin from Egypt, and he actually acknowledged that these sites, which I took him to, which were magnetically charged, were still active. And yeah, so I spent time with them, and eventually the immortals started appearing because I spent so much time there, and I believe just meditating and purifying my body, I spent that time, and they felt comfortable to appear. So I had Tai Li Po, Yossi Sojo, Babaji. It was an extraordinary time in my life. And then I was told, head down the mountain. So I was giving light group meetings at the time. This was 1987 till roughly, 2000. And doing trance mediumship and working on all these different levels, opening myself at a pyramid room with laser technologies, was working with Fred Bell, who is the grandson of Alexander Graham Bell. So my life with the Galactics continues. I came down the mountain to be with all of you and share. And in our Bay Area, Northern Bay Area, is the City of Light. So I'm still in connection. And there's always the Star Confederation, which they go from different galaxies. But the High Spiritual Council is really the center of my heart and my guidance to be here with you today. So that's in a nutshell. I work with them, I see them, they love me. I know that I am a galactic. You are a galactic. Everyone has galactic consciousness in a human biological body. Part of the work now is to take people back to where they came from when you first came to Earth. A lot of people, we started the Galactic Earth Council, which we'll talk about maybe a little bit, Scott.
Yeah.
During that time, took a lot of people up to Skywatch, and I'll speak about the first time, in which the oil spill was happening. As I took people up, it was interesting to see people who had no idea that this was really happening. So when they got up there and the ships appeared and they really had the experience, it was overwhelming in some ways. I love the Galactic Star Federation. They took a lot of time. They would fly over and over. They would show us hologramic images of their ships, and they would split into two. They would split into four, come back to one, circle around again. And what they would work with each time is the synapses in our brain, because some couldn't see it at all. And then eventually they would see and they would say, okay, that doesn't have a wing. Wait a minute, it looks like a plane, but it doesn't have a wing. Wait a minute. And finally it would just click. That's not an airplane. And so there's a lot of programming going on. And then as the night would come, this is all in broad daylight, they would etch the the skyline of San Francisco. We had a doctor out there one time, and they just started drawing, this in the clouds, the skyscraper of San Francisco, and that was what really opened him up. But once your synapses is open, then you can see them and be with them and speak with them and connect with them. There's so much love pouring out. So we're in our 11th year of having that connection, but they asked me to bring people into their understanding of why they came to Earth. So we call it a galactic origin session. Fabulous, amazing. Everyone meets their divinity and sees their contracts, their clan, who they are. So I'll just end that little section here and see if you have anything to ask me, Scott.
Oh, I'm definitely going to have questions for you. Um, and what an amazing life, just a remarkable life that you've led, Celestine, and helping us to really open our minds and our hearts to a more expansive understanding of the world. And I also want to acknowledge how difficult it's been, because you are going against the grain, going against a certain mainstream reality, certain mainstream programming. And next to me is Raphael, which is so cool to have Raphael with us. And,
Absolutely.
and something the two of you have in common is interdimensional understanding. And Raphael's music is obviously very celestial in how we hear it. So my question to both of you, first of all, welcome, Raphael.
Yeah.
And I know you two have met before, of course. Um, Raphael, and to you too, Celestine, we'll start with Raphael. How do you tap into the interdimensional world, and how does that show up in your life?
Well, I'm from Oklahoma, so I'm kind of down home about it. But I'm like you. I had my first near death at the age of 5. I could relate to where you're coming from. Each soul is a frequency. And so what I do is I put on the James Brown shakeout, then I'll consciously relax the body and empty. And then I'll imagine myself in a room and I'm sitting in a chair. Then I imagine an empty chair there. And whoever I want to talk to, I imagine that person being there. Now, the law of the universe is what I resonate, I attract. So in the beginning, I'm imagining, but after a while, they're there. And the secret is always to take what you get. As you know, sometimes they don't use words, it'll be visions or an energy.
Mm-hmm.
But you take what you get. And I've taught so many people that it's so easy. Each soul is like a frequency. It's like a radio station. You tune in and there you're there. And it's a lot of fun. A lot of times I talk to Jesus. And for example, one time I was sitting in my chair and he walks right up to me and he goes boom, boom, boom. And he goes, pow, hits me in the face and I'm all sitting on the floor. It didn't hurt, but it was a shock. And I'm looking up at him and he says, can't you think about anyone else other than yourself? And I almost said, Give me a break, I'm an Aries, but no, that we're gonna get away with that. And the miracles about that one, like we helped a lady get out of a 5-month coma through that, and we weren't here. So as you know, so that little technique of just imagining that person there, and then, and of course, as you know, love is the greatest food for that kind of stuff as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Celestine, how does that relate to some of your, because it sounds like the stories you shared, kind of the Galactics came to you now as a mature elder. Is that similar to how you kind of draw in the Galactics, or how you establish communication?
They know before I even go outside that I'm going outside, and they will be there. They love me. There's no doubt. It's just a part of my life, and they're our cousins. They are, and once you have connected with them in a certain way. For instance, I was driving home last night from the Christmas gathering of the family, and sure enough, they're right there with me, and they followed me all the way home to make sure that I was safe. And so I've got these ships going there, and of course we say, who's flying the ship, instead of, oh my gosh, there's a ship, So I'm having this conversation as I'm going along, and it is. But if I need to connect with them, like Raphael was saying, we tune in. We're all frequency, and so that's that tuning in. And I can send out kind of a distress signal, I need some company. And yeah, sure enough, they will appear. And so it gives me great comfort. It gives me sanity to be here on the planet, to have that relationship, and to know I know where the stargates are. I could leave today and just bid farewell to humanity, and I have that option at this point in my life to stay with you all and stay in my embodiment, or take a moment and head into one of these beautiful cities. All of this is going to be available to all of humanity. We're not needing to necessarily have to go to Mars. There's other dimensional fields that await us, and I'm sure, Raphael, you've experienced that. And yeah, so that's what I would say. Each person is a monad. They call it monadic, the frequency, and we radiate out in all directions. So we have more lives than just this one going at one time. Part of my, this is my last walk, so I've been, as I wake up from the dream time, I can dissolve the timeline. So I've been working to dissolve a lot of the timelines through the dreamscape. And that's been really formidable. So I would add that to them. Yeah.
As we all know, there's a coming storm. Have you received any visions regarding the future?
Yes. I am so excited because the celestial healers are here. When the we'll just say it, the brothers, the secret space force, decided to turn on all the microwave weaponry, 5G, 6Gs, all of these are levels of weapons. They turned it up, and it affected the Galactic Star Federation's crafts, just like radar. When Fred Bell was part of creating radar, this is what downed the ships that were in Roswell, the 2 that went down, and a couple others before they figured it out. So what happened is the Galactics left. All of a sudden they just go into another dimensional field, and it took them a while, but the Syrian Council appeared. That was quite interesting. And behind me, this is a picture of the Syrian Council. You'll see the dark clouds on behind me here, and the way they line up. They're the only ones that cloak in the dark clouds. And they made this kind of like bridge all the way over to the center here, and then the angel clouds came out, the angel beings. So I'm representing our clan here, And anyway, so they've been here because they're dealing with the genetic tampering that's going on in the human genome while people are basically unaware. And they're helping to shut down some of the domes and the tunnels, and you've seen the, trafficking and things like that. They're very serious, very high level. And so after a while, the Galactic's Star Federation, they came back with renewed crafts. Their crafts are really spiffy now. They can pop in and out. They can do a lot of things. So they're actually back, and the whole fleet came in one night, and my girlfriend called me and said, I've never seen anything like this before, and she actually got it, what I've been telling her all this time. She said, they're really here. I said, yes, dear, this is their return. So what is magnificent is that the celestial healers came with them, thousands of them, thousands and thousands, and they're bringing the technology that we need to get over the hump, to get over the chasm. We have to go over this chasm in order to step forward into our galactichood. And so they're opening the way for healers on any level, whether it's music, frequencies, photonic light, instrumentations. They're putting it into the grid, they're putting the information, they're showing up. And I'm going to be working with a couple of groupings that right this minute, they're doctors, some of them have been ousted, and they're interested in the higher technologies. And so there's going to be some physical interaction, I believe. So I'm excited about that, to bring what we need to help humanity move out of this difficult, challenging time. So they're telling me that the end of the era of illusion has come. And they're actually waiting until the very, very end of this era so they could step forward. They will not do differentiation, which is what we would call war. There's no agenda to take over. There never has been. They've never left. They've always been here. It's a part of their earth. What we have to get used to is, no, we don't own the earth. It's here for all of creation. It has a tone. We have a tone. We are the tone of earth, and the resonant tone of humanity is a little bit distorted, so they're here to help us to bring our tone as a unified consciousness into oneness as much as possible. There's several timelines, one going over the cliff, one going up into evolution. So this is what we're moving forward. But the egg of darkness has cracked, and so a lot of the infrastructure that was there to control humanity is just not there anymore. And so there's a kind of a golden light that's pouring forth. I could say, if you look at mass meditations, right, that's kind of our key. We started out with our harmonic conversion, maybe 20,000 around the world. And so when we did the unified on 2020, there was 5 million that registered. That was who registered. And so 2021, we did a unified meditation, and I'm sure it was well over that. So we have offices everywhere, and the light is pouring in. And here we are with you, Scott. Thank you so much for doing all your shows, keeping it going. You are the one. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You do not even know how many people gather. Yes, you do. You know. But I just want to acknowledge you.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Celestine. So, question, when you talk about different timelines, obviously everyone has kind of a different, we resonate at different levels. How can the people watching, what are the steps, to this question for both of you, that people can take to most effectively be in a timeline that is loving, that is towards, a golden light era, as opposed to dark, horrific storm time?
What can they do? Let's see, what can you do? Let me ask that question in my heart. First, just recognize where you are. A lot of people are both. They're kind of like, well, I believe in light and the angels and the God and all of this, but at the same time, they will surrender their total life to a medical person who has not a clue about what they're really, maybe not enough back information or research into what they're actually feeding to the public. There's just been such a habit, pushing the pharmaceutical, and I'll just say it really clearly, pushing the agenda of certain medicines and things, and now pushing experimental things. So if you are a person who is caught in the middle, just understand to follow your heart. We're here for eternity, so there's no fear. If you are being guided to follow the Western way, the medicine way, the way of, whatever makes you feel safe within yourself, then follow that. That is your path. But it is a timeline that inevitably is filled with rocky roads. I mean, you don't know if you're going to live or die, or you're always watching the news. Get your programming outside of yourself from the black box. And so if you choose to say, okay, I want to bring that in and I want to follow my heart, and I know that there's goodness. So really allowing yourself to open to the goodness and start looking at projects or things that are happening in the world that are illuminating, elevating, that bring happiness, that has a feeling of joyousness in your body, alternatives, trusting your own immune system, trusting your own life. Those things will take you to a state of evolution. Because right now, evolution allows us to grow and expand as a humanity in unity, to be on the timeline, a sequence of events which would show control, harm. There's physical evidence that there's harm being done, and yet you're still going down that pathway. And it's okay.
Mm.
Because we're here for eternity. Eventually you will awaken. Each person will awaken. This evolution of consciousness is not across the board. Some people are not meant to. We don't want to save you. We cannot save you. I will not save you. You must save yourself, So that's what I say.
Beautiful. I want to hear what Raphael says, and I want to just encourage our Zoom audience. Sometimes our Zoomers are very active. They've been a little bit more quiet today. But Jeff writes, "Lovolution is the solution." And so, Jeff, I'd love for you to write a little bit more about what Lovolution means to you.
Yeah.
We are going to do a Saturday Night Alive on January 8th, which is all about the Weevolution. And that's, I think, pretty similar to the Lovolution. It's with Louisa Stowe and her Love Warriors. And Dia wrote something very sweet. She wrote that Celestine, Scott, and Raphael are my quintessential Christmas presents. So thank you, Dia. That's very, very sweet. Raphael, what are your thoughts about practical ways or specific human ways that we can choose the most loving path forward?
Yeah, basically, from my Oklahoma's way, is what I resonate, I attract. So what you focus your attention on, you get more of what you resonate with. The thing of it is, it's both. Like we learned last night at the Saturday Night Live, that you have to spend some time listening to your body, listening to the past pains, listening to the wounds that need to be listened to, or else they own you. And so you have to spend some time with the dark and allow it to just go to the light and see it what it is, an illusion. And then, of course, what you resonate, you attract. So being with some people like us and so forth, you go that way. But it does take both. What really fascinates me is we talk about these timelines. I always thought there was just one timeline on Earth and this is it, And now you're saying there's these other timelines that I assume are just as real as this one.
Absolutely.
A little more clarity on that one.
A little more clarity. Yeah, we're living. You know, the first thing that blew my mind is Tanendor, who is one of the teachers for our grouping, and he said each person has their own universe, their own world. There's 7 billion Earths. So as we merge with like attracts like, then we kind of come together and we say, this is what we see Earth is. This is how we see Earth. So that's just number one. And even the Native American, the medicine wheel is all about this is your universe, and to begin a meditation of watching your universe and how you manifest. So if we look at everything in the room that's around us, we have just manifested that. Our life, our everything that has happened and occurred in your life is a part of your own manifestation, right? So we come in for a purpose, but there is a grouping that has certain beliefs or purposes to fulfill, and the grouping establishes what they call a timeline. It's like a sequence, because there is no time. Everything is in the present moment. But there is a sequence of events, just like your childhood as you get older and older. And so the sequence of event that I've been watching for it's going back in history, 70 years, is now manifest with chaos, you know, people that don't know what to do medically. We're having bioweaponry used upon us. You know, all these things I've been studying, kind of watching, and now it's absolutely manifest. And some people live in that, and the way you could tell that the person is on a different timeline is you'll be speaking to them and they don't really hear you. That you're trying to give the information that might help them to awaken. They're not into processing, like you said, go deep within and look at the darker the energies of challenges or traumas, you know, not into that at all. Just that, you know, you can't, there's like, and I think a lot of families are struggling with this, how to awaken them to the research that's really there that would help them to get in a better place. It's not happening. So that's kind of a key, that they're in a timeline locked in to where this is their life and it's going to keep going in that direction. It just is. It's a sequence of events that are unfolding, and there's mass consciousness that is connected with that unfolding, and it continues. Fear, manifesting control, manifesting, you know, lording over different intelligent levels. The galactics call it reverse consciousness, and it is connected to frequencies. The lower frequencies bring about reverse consciousness in the humanities, or in other creatures as well, other beings as well, who have the need to have and own and control. So a lot of our leaders are based in that reality. And if you have a conglomerate, it can formulate a timeline. I always felt I was always on another state of, I couldn't describe it as a timeline, but I knew I wasn't from the same as my parents, my guardians, and those people around me that were doing things that were about hurting and controlling others. It was like they lived in another world and I lived over here. So you could consider that like a timeline, I'd say. You know, when you absolutely feel there's something so different about that person. So that's as close as I can get it, unless you can actually view the sequence of your life as a child, getting older. That's a complete timeline, right? And so, but every moment you can turn and go 360 degrees. Your choice, your choice, your choice. Where are you going to go? What's the pathway? These are path workings. Walking on a path, right? So that's what I would say.
It's beautiful.
While you digest. I want to read what Connie, our dear friend Connie, is with us. And she's a wise woman. She's been on this show. And so Connie writes, yes, dear Celestine, trust our hearts and the loving universe. When we walk in alignment, we access higher frequencies. The other dimensions that you speak of, here are some tools, 10 assumptions for a new paradigm. And there's a free ebook, The Conscious Loving Universe, a guidebook. That's in our Zoom room. So, hey, everybody, come on into our Zoom room. If you're watching on Facebook, especially because we go out to a lot of different Facebook pages, I can't track each one because the Sign Network sends us out to quite a few. Come into our Zoom room, just go to globalpeacetribe.com, register, come on into our Zoom room, and you can get that link. I'll also post it on my Facebook profile page when I post the recording of this show. Connie also writes, yes, Celestine, we each get what we ask for because the universe loves us unconditionally. It gives us everything we ask for. So what are our requests? And that shows up as our consciousness. So thank you, Connie. Raphael, Celestine, any thoughts about what Connie had to say?
Jesus said the same thing. Are ye not gods? I'm going to give you everything you've ever wanted. I mean, he just really lays it on. But there's one caveat in that. He says, seek ye first the kingdom of God first, then all things happen. So that's another way of saying follow the heart. But this is just so mind-blowing because I think the ancient Greeks always said that this universe around you comes from your eyes, comes from you outward rather than all this. And you're saying almost like each person has their own universe?
Absolutely. Yeah. And they took me out of my body. I'm often taken out and shown things so that I could speak to you all. And what they did was they started with the earth and taking me out and showing me the frequency, because the frequency of earth is now rising to a point that we're interfacing with their what they call septicles. When the earth was first created, the star beings came and they made these little what they call septicles, places of living, like the City of Light, Gobi Desert, Shambhala. All of these are interdimensional existences, right? So we're getting to the point where we're interfacing so we can see more of what's going on there. And when they showed me each individual person, and you could see the overlay, my frequency is overlaying your frequency. You're sitting next to Scott. You're merging your worlds together. So your instruments are in the room and in Scott's house. And so there's certain parts of you that you take with you, and you manifested it right into Scott's house. And
actually, we're in Raphael's studio.
Oh,
right
are you?
Oh, Maui. I'm in Maui. So
that's right. I love you. I just so anyway, let's do it in reverse. Where Scott's there, and he's got his computer. You know, he has certain things he's manifesting, but there's a merging of worlds right where you are. Yeah. And so they began to show me that this was happening. And so when you have, for instance, I often see in Africa, in the desert lands, the groupings, and they're actually manifesting, the deserts. Like, and we hold in our hearts the idealism of the deserts. And so as long as we're holding that, we're making it, we're creating it, and it's merging out and coming as a group consciousness. And so this is a part of the awakening, is to recognize you are responsible. You are your own reality. And so when I've done probably about 40 years of trauma and pain management, taking people through, and each time we end up going, back to the first time they even were birthed. I mean, why did you choose the parents? You had all this trauma, but it always comes back to they made an agreement, personal, or they are on a mission, or both. So they know what they're coming into. It's not like, oh, this happened and I don't have a clue. But once you take them through the process of recognizing, yes, I needed to learn the lower nature of humanity. I needed to learn abuse so that I could have compassion because it's my mission, and I grew into this thing. So now I can let go of manifesting the trauma because I have in my gree bag the understanding and I have mastered it, you see. But the timeline of their coming into childhood and or being neglected or absentee parents, maybe they came in to help stop a multi-generational trauma, you know. So, but that was their mission, and so the whole unfolding of their life was based on that timeline, is the unfolding. And so when they come to me, I'm going, okay, you've come to me, we're going to go back, we're going to look at all of this, whether it's another lifetime. Sometimes we can't look at it in reality, so we look at it in a different way. Let's look and see how that is. And they see clearly. They go, oh my gosh, this is it. But they're empowered because they understand why they chose to come in and to do that. So that's their life. And so you have one life over top of another, over top of another. Hello, 7 billion people.
Celestine, I'm going to read some comments from our audience. And while I'm doing that, if you'd be willing to put into the chat box your link or links, and I'll pull them up and show them to people. But some comments from Connie. Connie writes, Celestine, you are a true phenomenon, bringing such beautiful truths for humanity to understand as we proceed on the evolutionary upward spiral. We made an overarching act of free will when we chose to incarnate on Earth so we could go on our journey to wholeness, self-acceptance, self-love. And we have an online course that deals with just exactly what you're speaking of, the dance of souls, the relationship revolution. So please put that online course, Connie, into the chat box. I want to read what Jeff wrote, because it's very interesting. Jeff wrote, I'm excited about what is about to happen in this timeline, beginning of 2022, the publishing of the solution to the holy grail of science for humanity, the unification of scientific knowledge that will unite spirituality and science. And that's coming from Nassim Harriman. Nassim, of course, has been on my shows, and the Resonance Science Foundation. And yeah, that's a big thing that's happening, is our oldest spiritual wisdom that's kind of been locked up in the basement of the Vatican somewhere. And our highest understanding of scientific wisdom has come together. It's the same wisdom. I want to offer to you a practical example of just tuning in as it manifested today. For me, once or twice a day, I take my dogs for a walk when I'm home, because I'm in front of the computer a lot. So by walking the dogs is kind of my relaxing, being in nature, being in the air, just kind of chilling down and opening my mind. And maybe a month ago, I was walking the dogs. My mind was clear. And literally, I got the vision, invite Celestine Starr to the Sacred Sunday show on December 26th. It was totally clear, out of the blue. I was not thinking about the Sunday show or Celestine or just, and here we are. And that's how it happens. Okay. But I also want to acknowledge that for whatever reason, someone out there, or many of you out there, needed to hear what Celestine had to say today. Mm-hmm. And I just picked up that frequency. I picked up that wanting to happen. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to acknowledge it's important for us to listen to our guidance in whatever way, whether you get it through meditation. I'm like the world's worst meditator, because when I close my eyes, I go to sleep, which is a good thing. I can take naps standing up. So I do walking meditation. That's when I kind of clear my mind. But we all have to find a practice: yoga, meditation, martial art, playing an instrument. Speaking of which, we're going to hear one last thing with Celestine, and then we're going to close today's show with Raphael bringing through some music. So that's going to be pretty cool. One more message. Okay, great. So Connie put in the link And so Celestine has put in her links, and I'm going to go there while you share with us a little bit about what you're doing and how people can reach you.
Great, fantastic. So first, I'd like to say that in the link, you can reach me at the galacticearthcouncil.com, and you can also go to goldenlifewisdom.com. The Golden Life Wisdom, I have an ebook. You just fill in your email and click, and you'll get the download of the ebook that was given to me by Meso, Keeper of the Books of the Seventh Council. I've been teaching this method of manifesting your life, and so to understand how you can manifest and transform your life into exactly how you need. And the universe loves you so much that it gives you everything you need and more. So this is my Galactic Earth Council page, and we have a store where you can get the book. We have the Galactic Earth Council book. This is a group of us that met during the oil spill in Mexico back in July the 11th, 2010. And as he comes down, you'll see the book, and also you'll see the group of us. So we're in our 11th year. We don't have to worry about disclosure. It's already happened for us. But this book tells the story of my life, and it takes you through. We've got beautiful pictures of not only the group, some of the Galactic Council, right? I'll try to see if I can get it in front of my body, right there.
You can't see it because you've got the Zoom thing.
I got to share it. But anyway, so we have starships, actual images that was given to me by the Galactics for you to meditate upon. I asked them to give them to me. So we have lots to give to you in that. It's like a handbook, because there's science, spirituality, there's technologies, there's understanding of how to go out on Skywatch a little bit. And so connect with us. What I love is for you to all think about getting your galactic origin session. Where did you come from? Why are you here? That is the most powerful experience. I've done all walks of life, and I'm just here for you. We do celestial activations, and we also...
There's a lot going on here. And what's the best way for people? I guess get your book now, and then that's...
Can you go to the store? The store right next to home, up there. 1, 2, there, left, right.
TEC store.
Yay.
There we go.
There you go. So these are some of the, you can actually order that help support us. Some of the galactic images that I set, there will be more. And these are true images. There's the Syrian Council. There's the Star Confederation. They came in, and yeah. So you can get the picture that I'm in now.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thank you. And Connie has put in also some of her links. Susan Woolridge just wrote, "Yes, I was needing this today.